What is going on, people? It's Matt from Liquid Loans, and in this one, I'm joined by Nick Fett, who's the CTO of Tellor, a decentralized Oracle protocol that is partnering with Liquid Loans. In this one, it will be a deep dive on oracles, why decentralized oracles matter, and how you can be a reporter and make money by helping the system. So with no further ado, let's go. Hey Nick, great to see you. Thanks for jumping back on the Liquid Loans channel with me.
Of course, yeah, great to be here.
In our last video with Brenda and CC, we touched on Tellor and blockchain oracles, but in this one, if it's okay, I'd like to go a bit deeper and find out more.
Yeah, no, super excited.
Fantastic. So before we go down the rabbit hole, maybe we start right at the beginning and go back to basics. What exactly is a blockchain oracle?
Yeah, so I'm sure most of your users and listeners will know. So blockchains have these things called smart contracts. Smart contracts, they enable basically any account to perform kind of like escrow functions. So if this, then that. The problem with a lot of these smart contracts, though, is that they're actually not very smart. So they actually can't read off-chain information. And what I mean by that is if you have a smart contract and you want to know what's the weather today, your smart contract actually has no ability to do that. It's not like you could go to weather.com and grab information off of there in your smart contract. You actually need somebody to input that information. And this issue actually arose for us. So in my previous startup, I was doing derivatives. So I was trying to create a smart contract platform for derivatives. So you can think futures and options. What it boiled down to is you were basically betting on like the price of cryptocurrency. So you would put some ether into a contract, and now you're going to bet on the price of Bitcoin. The problem, though, how do you know the price of Bitcoin? We were on Ethereum at the time, and it's not like you could just look at the Coinbase API. You actually needed somebody to go and enter in the price of Bitcoin. And this is actually a really big problem. This is what's known as the Oracle problem, because whenever you have one person with that privilege of entering in the information, obviously for derivatives, if you and I are betting, I'm saying the price of Bitcoin is going to go down and you're saying it's going to go up. If I get to say what the price of Bitcoin is at the end of the contract, I can obviously cheat you out of the winnings. So, the whole point of blockchains in general is to sort of disintermediate and get rid of middlemen. Well, you have this giant problem. And that's what we set out to solve with Tellor. How can you get information on chain in an actually decentralized and trustless manner?
So what are oracles commonly used for? Obviously, on blockchain, we got prices and stuff like that, but are there any uses for them that they're commonly used for?
Yeah, so I think you have to think about oracles more generally, just how do kind of blockchains talk to the rest of the world? Anytime you have a bridge, so if you are bridging one blockchain to another, the blockchains, they actually can't talk to each other any more than they can talk to the Coinbase API or weather.com. So all of those bridges, they have oracles behind them. Another big use case for oracles, you can look at things such as prediction markets or insurance. If you have an insurance claim on a blockchain and you need to know, okay, well, did this event actually happen? You need an oracle to tell you that. The blockchain doesn't know. And then obviously price feeds as well. So lots of different price feeds are being put on, and that's probably, since we've had this big DeFi boom, a lot of price feeds have been put on chain. But yeah, lots of things you can do. So people are actually just starting to experiment with all the various use cases. But as long as you have a method for grabbing this information from off chain, that's sort of oracles in general.
Awesome. And obviously Tellor is a decentralized Oracle protocol. So how does that work from a high level view?
Sure. So, you can think about it as compared to a centralized Oracle. So for you, whenever we were talking about our example of betting on the price of Bitcoin, if it was, say just me and you, we could trust, say our CEO, Brenda, she could be our Oracle. That's a completely centralized Oracle. If she picks sides, you're out of luck. And then same with, if she dies, we actually have no way of ever getting our price on chain unless we have a backup. So there's definitely big problems. But should I start whiteboarding now or still stay high level?
Yeah, sure. Let's get into it. Let's start seeing it mapped out on the whiteboard.
Sure. So the basics idea of a decentralized Oracle is, okay, so we have this job that's given to one person. Well, how can you give it to multiple people? And this is the same problem that you have in any blockchain system. You have a traditional database is, well, basically one person gets to write to it, and then that's how you would say like a bank ledger. You keep track of it with just one person consistently writing to it and keeping track of it. But with a blockchain, we all sort of have to come to consensus on that data. And that's how you would decentralize the Oracle process as well. you need to have a system for how do you come to consensus on a piece of information when it's put on chain. So the basic way that Tellor works, so I'll draw our smart contract here. So this can be our, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this will be our smart contract on we're obviously going to be on PulseChain here for for the video, and then these are going to be the reporters. So Tellor is created by a system of reporters. So with these individuals, anybody can be a reporter in our system, and they're going to place tokens into the smart contract. So you're going to have to deposit tokens as a stake. So they're going to stake these tokens. And now you can see locked inside of the smart contract are each of these reporters has tokens staked. Then let's say, we'll draw Matt over here. He'll be a smiley guy down here. He wants the price of Bitcoin in his smart contract. So he has his own smart contract, and he's going to come and he would say, hey, he would pay just, we'll say 1 token, and he'll ask for BTC USD. And what he's saying is this is a tip to our system. He's saying whichever one of you reporters tells me the price of Bitcoin, I'm going to give this 1 token. All of these reporters will then compete to put a piece of data on chain. And then what will happen, so, we'll say one of these people will place the value on chain. I don't know. So it'll come down here into the BTC price of equals, I don't know. I don't even know what it is. 20K at the moment. Something
around that, 19K or so.
Yeah. It'll be outdated here with the video very shortly. And then, so one of the reporters will say that the price of Bitcoin is. Now, if you like this price of Bitcoin on chain, you can just use it. However, once it's on chain, everyone can see it. So we'll kind of draw a tree here, what will happen. So you come down, and is it a good value? So everyone will look, and this is how we come to consensus on the information. So you'll say, is it actually 20K? Well, it might not be, since we actually don't know. We probably don't want to be a reporter. But if let's say the actual price of Bitcoin is $60,000, anyone else, so you, one of the other reporters, some random user on PulseChain or in Liquid Loans can come and they can dispute the data. So if yes, you would use data, it just stays on chain. If no, then it goes to a dispute. So basically what happens is once it goes to a dispute, you would pay, we'll draw another person would pay a small fee, and it would kick it off to a dispute. So you would pull this value off chain, and then it goes to a 2-day vote. And then this 2-day vote determines all of the token holders of TRB tokens get a say, the users get a say, and the reporters get a say. They all have a weighted portion of the vote. And then they would determine, so good. I can't spell today. So if it was a good value, dispute fee goes to reporter. So that small fee that he paid would go to the person who was wrongly disputed. And then, but if it was bad, then the whole stake that person has goes to the disputer. So he gets paid. So there's a big incentive for him to monitor the network and make sure that the value is good. For the user, so you, Matt, over here, wanted the Bitcoin US dollar. If it does get disputed, your little token reward still hasn't gone anywhere. So basically, it would get pulled off chain, and somebody else would submit a value who would get it. So basically, it would be really, really quick as far as it gets pulled off chain, somebody else puts a new one, and the whole process starts over. Should we dispute this one as well? If not, use it.
So I'm not waiting around for 2 days for a Bitcoin.
You're not waiting around for 2 days like some optimistic oracles. You simply are probably waiting another few blocks for the price to be put back on chain.
Gotcha. So basically there's incentives and disincentives for people to tell the truth.
Correct.
Nice.
And you can see, that's the whole sort of, it's kind of this game theoretical oracle, you could say, how are you incentivizing people to give honest data and at the same time sort of trying to make it secure in some sort of ways. And you can see, obviously that there may be some ways, there are some ways to attack, and I'm sure we can get into that. But this is the basic way that Tellor can work.
So the biggest problem in oracles, well, you tell me, I'm guessing it is centralization, right? And this is how we tackle it.
Yeah, so I mean that would be the biggest problem with most oracles. So a lot of centralized oracles won't have this whole dispute process. You will just be, similar to our first example, when we'll say Brenda is our reporter, or we'll say, Brenda and CC and Dave, they're going to be our 3 reporters. They put the values on chain, and that's the value you get. They call them reputation-based oracles. They would never cheat you because they don't want to ruin their reputation. This is obviously, complete BS, because people throw away their reputation for a little financial gain all the time in the crypto space. So that's why we're, in the true form of crypto, how can you actually make it so anybody can participate here? Anybody can participate here. So if you're thinking about, how is this actually a censorship-resistant oracle? Well, you don't just have to request the Bitcoin US dollar price. We don't control what you request. You can request anything you want, whether it's information about some other chain, whether it's potentially information about some sanctioned entity. So, I know there was the Tornado Cash information. If you're running a centralized oracle, and if Tornado Cash needed an oracle, the oracle probably wouldn't keep fulfilling requests for them. Here, anybody can be a reporter. So as long as there's someone in the world who wants the money, it's going to still work, and therefore you can't shut it down, which is kind of what we were striving for.
So how does one become a reporter if they want to in the network, in the Tellor network?
Sure. So it's basically as simple as this. So you would come and you would have to go buy some Tellor tokens. If you're doing it on PulseChain, you would bridge them over or to whatever network that you would want, and then you would stake them in the contract. Once you have them staked in the contract, you would have to run software. So we provide the software, or if you're really sort of a go-getter, you can write your own software, which a lot of people do. Basically, all you're doing is you're monitoring for these tips. You're listening for people to request something, and then you're submitting. You would go fetch the price. So you would listen, say, Matt wanted the Bitcoin US dollar. What does that mean? It means I have to go fetch this price, and then you submit it on chain, and you get a reward. And it becomes, on a lot of the networks, it has become very competitive. So as you can imagine, once you do a tip, it turns into a race. So a lot of times, you're kind of trying to outcode the other person. The caveat being, once you do submit a value, you're locked for 12 hours per stake. So that would mean that, if you wanted to report, say, every hour, you would need 12 different stakes in order to do so.
What about the equipment needed? Does someone need a lot of mining equipment or a really fast PC or graphics card or anything like that?
No, not at all. I think, the basics of it would just be a normal CPU will work for almost everything. Some people, especially on Ethereum mainnet for Tellor, they're starting to compete kind of on the MEV level. So if you're familiar with miner extractable value, this is where you would basically try and move up within a block. So basically, as soon as this tip hits, you're either in the same block or in the next block, jumping right on board. And that can be very specialized, but nothing as far as hardware requirements go.
Awesome. So kind of a low barrier of entry compared to Bitcoin mining or Ethereum mining before, obviously, when it was.
Yeah, and we try and keep these stakes relatively low. So on mainnet, they're slightly different for every network. It's based upon block times, but it's anywhere between $100 and $2,000. It's not, some of these node requirements as far as stakes go can be, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's nowhere near that. It's definitely a reasonable amount for people to grab, and that's what we want. Part of Tellor's goal is we have to make sure that we actually have a lot of reporters here and the ability for new people to become reporters, so that it actually stays decentralized and we have people incentivized to monitor it.
Awesome. Obviously not financial advice, but how much can someone make being a reporter for Tellor?
Overall, I think the rewards are, I think it's like probably 50,000 a month. It depends a lot on the price of Tellor. You could make a decent amount doing it.
Whenever there's profit to be made, I guess people are going to capitalize on it, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's sort of what you want to make. This isn't a system where you rely on anyone being honest. You just rely on the fact that people want to make money. So if you put $5 up there, it's not that people want to help you out. It's that they want your $5 or they want your 50 cents even is what we see tips going for right now. It's very, very low amount of money that people will submit money for or submit values for. And that's the system that you want to make. In the same way, like the Ethereum network or the Bitcoin network doesn't work because the miners are benevolent and care about the system. It works because they want money and they want to sell it. And you align these incentives to work, so you sort of don't need any sort of altruistic behavior between the participants.
Appealing to self-interest, right? Everyone's favorite topic.
Correct.
So I think another Oracle protocol that a lot of people know about is Chainlink. How does Tellor compare to Chainlink?
Sure. So Chainlink actually just doesn't have this side of the board. Chainlink is kind of like I was talking about, a reputation-based Oracle. So these would be whitelisted reporters. So they do have to stake, but they're controlled by, basically the Chainlink team gets to whitelist these reporters and they put the values on chain. And once they're put on chain, you rely on them. Granted, it's been working for a while, but there's not really a whole lot of decentralization to it. Not anybody can go become a reporter. There's no way to sort of, if they decide to shut down, not a whole lot you can do. So this was something that we had decided that we wanted to build something that sort of fit the values of the system a little bit better.
So why do centralized oracles fail?
So I think you actually haven't had too many centralized oracles fail. A lot of people use, for price feeds, you'll see Uniswap be used a lot. And Uniswap has a big problem because it's completely on chain, so you're able to manipulate it. So if you're just using a price feed on chain, it's the same problem as if you would just go take your price from one exchange. Well, people can go throw the price on that exchange. So that's usually one of the big attacks that we see on a lot of Oracle systems. Other problems that you've seen with some centralized oracles is that they'll just go down. So like if gas prices go really high, or if their software sort of bugs out, they just won't submit prices for a day or a few hours. And the problem is that that's okay. It happens. It could happen to a Tellor reporter, but you have no recourse as a user. With Tellor, you could go stake and report your own value. Like another reporter could step up. Like there's incentives. But if a centralized oracle goes down, not much you can really do.
So with redundancy, what happens when an oracle fails? Is there a backup plan?
Some people actually do use fallbacks. So, like we're partnered with Liquidity, for instance. So they use Chainlink, and then if Chainlink ever goes down, then they use Tellor. And it's sort of a model that can work. And a lot of people will use Oracle setups where you could use Uniswap, for instance, unless Uniswap is outside of the bounds of Tellor or something like that. And having these multiple oracles can sort of help set up, but you just have to be sure on how you set them up that you actually don't increase the attack risk. For similar, like if you were taking an average of 3 oracles, that's actually worse than just choosing one oracle, because now if you break any one of those oracles, you can kind of throw the whole price. So you want to make sure that you're actually just making the system sort of fall back in the right methods, if something shuts down or if they're not live or something like that, knowing where certain oracles have strengths versus others.
And I guess Tellor, excels in the fact that it's decentralized, meaning you're decentralized because you have so many different reporters giving different bits of information. Is that right?
Well, and it's decentralized in the fact that anybody can do it. That's really the big caveat. So even if you had like 500 reporters that were all whitelisted and controlled by one entity, that wouldn't necessarily matter. It's the fact that, you as the reporter, there's nothing we can say that says you can't request the price of Bitcoin. There's nothing that we can do to prevent somebody from submitting the price of Bitcoin on chain. It's completely censorship resistant as far as, or permissionless. is what you could say. And same with who can be a reporter? Well, anybody can. All you have to do is go buy some tokens and run a piece of software that you can probably run on your own pretty simply.
I saw you talk on another video about how oracles are the missing link in true DeFi, right? Whether we're talking about bridges, consensus, dexes. Could you extrapolate a bit more on that?
Yeah, so what you're trying to see now is people are coming up with a lot of really cool ideas. Whenever you see, how do we do a cross-chain AMM? We don't know. This is one of those things like if you look and think like, okay, in 5 years, where's the space going to be? We're probably going to have 50 different chains, all with a lot of volume on it. You're going to be able to swap back and forth from chain to chain. It doesn't matter, which asset you're in. It doesn't matter, I guess, which protocol in. You'll be able to find and grab yield and grab all of the different exotic financial products in any chain, and it'll sort of work seamlessly. This is the dream, and we sort of have the ability to get there. But that ability to talk from chain to chain, and then also to grab information from off chain. So the one example I always like to do, if we wanted to say bet on housing prices in the US or bet on actual financial instruments, so you can think stocks, you can think bonds, you can bring that information on chain to create synthetic assets, but you need oracles. And then this is something that's really been missing. And I think Tellor's sort of one of these pieces and fundamental primitives of the system, of sort of all of these blockchain ecosystems that can kind of tie it together and make that future happen.
Absolutely. What about scalability and longevity? How can that be achieved for Tellor?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing that we want to be, this is like a different sort of model than a traditional company. It's like, we want to be sort of a protocol like Ethereum. How does Ethereum have longevity? Well, you have people using it. You have, it becomes the standard. It becomes one of these things that people are just using and incentivized to build on. It's not like it's managed from a central team or that you need to rely on outside funding. It's just the system works. The incentives are properly in place, that everything sort of runs. And that's what we're working on becoming. It's just sort of this protocol for making off-chain information and bringing it on-chain.
A lot of people watching this are going to be in the PulseChain ecosystem. And I guess a question would be, how is Tellor going to bring value to PulseChain?
I mean, I think the cool thing about it is, Tellor's permissionless and can go anywhere. But, it's one of these things like PulseChain, like it's an EVM and you can deploy an Oracle over there. And now you guys are top of the game. You guys have the tools that any other ecosystem can have, as far as you can connect PulseChain to Polygon. You can connect PulseChain to Arbitrum. You can connect PulseChain to Optimism, PulseChain to Ethereum, to Cosmos. Once you have that ability, now people from all of these ecosystems can come onto PulseChain. Now you can, if you wanted to, the one cool thing you could do, if you wanted to say airdrop tokens that you made on Pulse to all of the token holders on a specific community, Tellor can bring those balances over for you. You could have liquid loans like governed by the token holders on some Ethereum chain. Like it actually doesn't, once you remove the barriers of talking across chain, it enables a lot for you guys over on PulseChain.
And why does liquid loans need Tellor? How is Tellor really going to help liquid loans?
Yeah, so liquid loans, the way that liquid loans works, I'm sure almost all of your listeners know way, way better than I do. You guys will place tokens into the system, and then you'll be issuing out stable coins, so US dollar-based tokens. The problem with any stablecoin is you need to know that it's fully backed. So is the collateral in the system worth how many tokens are outstanding? And to do that, you need an external price feed. So, if you have 500 Pulse tokens in there and you issue 500 stable coins, the Pulse tokens better be worth at least $1, or else you have a problem and the stable coins aren't able to be redeemed.
Gotcha. So you're going to be helping, obviously, getting different price calls, different price feeds, and making sure.
So basically, we would tell them what's the price of the Pulse token in there. That way they know, okay, the whole system is fully collateralized, everything's good to go. If the Tellor reporters were to say, hey, the collateral is not enough to meet its obligations, then you can actually liquidate some of those troves. So depending on, how underwater they are, they might be able to fill them back up, but you would basically just make sure that the whole system is functioning as properly, sort of like kind of like a regulator, if you will, on top of the whole system.
We call them vaults over on Liquid Loans, but yeah, they actually are called troves on Liquidity. So,
oh, okay, cool.
Small correction there. Let's shift gears a little bit. I want to find out more about the Tellor token and how that works.
It's an ERC20 token, I think. It's a pretty standard token. It's on Ethereum mainnet, and basically, so yeah, we use it for the things in the system, but there are a few sort of caveats about how it works. The one thing, so we do have an inflation rate in the token. So we mint new tokens every month. Some of them go to the team. So we have what's called a dev share. This was like, I don't know if you're familiar with like the early Zcash model. This is where we had got it from when we launched in 2019. We get tokens sent to us every month, and then other tokens we mint and we pay as rewards. So basically it's sort of like an hourglass. We call them time-based rewards, and they trickle into the system. So every few minutes we mint out, I think it's about 4,000 tokens every month are issued to basically add to your tips. So if you're submitting a 1 token tip, whenever the reporters report on it, they'll probably get way more than just 1 token. So it makes it sort of incentivizes reporters to keep reporting. And the reason that this was something that we did sort of similar to like a block reward on Bitcoin. It incentivizes people to keep mining and keeps the security nice and high in the system.
Awesome. So for people that are interested in becoming a reporter or want more info, what's the next step for them?
Yeah, so I think I know we're not quite live on PulseChain yet, but I know we are live over there on the testnet. You could probably reach out to the Liquid Loans team, and we're going to be talking with them and working with them to make sure that you can run a testnet reporter there. But if you would want to, you can actually start testing already over on, say, Mumbai, Polygon, or Ethereum, and you can go grab your tokens and deposit and start running so you're familiar with the whole system.
Awesome. So would it be going to your YouTube and watching a video? Would it be going to your website and downloading the software? What's the next step?
I mean, the biggest thing, just go to Tellor.io. That's our main website, or docs.tellor.io is our documentation. You can click Become a Reporter, and it'll walk you through the whole process. You should be able to get set up, and happy to definitely come to our Discord or just reach out to us, even through the Liquid Loans guys. We sat down and helped them set up the reporters, and we'll do the same for anybody. We love seeing people come on, and especially people who kind of care about the system and want to do it to actually run it for somebody like Liquid Loans or a project, which is great to see.
Fantastic. Well, I'll put all those links in the description box below for anyone who's interested. I really appreciate your time today, Nick. Where should people go to find out more about Tellor online?
Yeah, just Tellor.io, or you can come to our YouTube channel as well. Lots of videos every week, kind of showing what we're working on.
Awesome. Thanks again for your time, buddy.
Thanks.
So I hope you enjoyed that video with Nick Fett and learned more about decentralized oracles and why they matter. If you like content like this, do hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you're notified every time we drop new videos on the channel. You can also tap the like button, share the video with someone who you think it may benefit, and if you're feeling very kind, consider dropping a cheeky comment below for the algo. It does help us out. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.